Hey everybody! In this month's gel press video, I'm going to show you how to make shimmery mixed media monoprints with a very simple process and some mediums that you wouldn't typically use on your gel press, specifically liquid watercolors, re-inker type mediums that don't usually work well on the surface of the gel press. So I have a very simple trick that will make those work in that application. I have my 5x7 gel press set up here, and this is a great size if you're going to end up making cards, because you can usually get 2 cards out of each print. Now I just wanted to show you what liquid watercolors normally do on the gel press. If I go to brayer this out, you'll see that it's beating up on the surface. It's not smoothly being rolled across the surface with my brayer. And that is why you typically see people printing with acrylic paint, etc., things that are more designed to stick to the surface of a gel press. But the way you can solve that is to create mixed media. So if you look at this ink, this is one of the shimmery inks from Hero Arts. This is what inspired me to try this technique today. So I'm going to use the regular Hero Arts liquid watercolor with an iridescent medium. I love this medium. I love gel printing with this medium. It's fantastic. And it makes your water-based mediums work on the gel press because it has that acrylic binder that will make it spread out evenly and let you do monoprints. Now, the balance of acrylic to water-based is important. You will see a few times when I've gotten a little bit too much of the watercolor that it will pull back even with the acrylic binder on there. But you can play with it and you're still going to get beautiful prints, as you'll see. So I'm adding 2 different colors of blue Hero Arts liquid watercolor to the iridescent medium that I've already spread out on my plate, and I will just mix those 2 with my brayer. Now I have way too much on the plate, as always. This is my constant problem when I'm printing. You just get a feel after a while for how much you need to put on there. But I'm just going to move this around and you can see how beautiful and shimmery it is. And I'm going to create all of my prints with the same impressible. I love this organic circle look in the background of my prints. And so I'll just press the impressible down onto the wet medium and remove that, and I'll start to build up some patterns in these prints. But we're not done. I'm still going to add more mediums to these monoprints. And I'll just end up with a series of prints that I can then use in my art journal or on cards. Now, I always rub it for a little longer than you would think you would need to, because I like to get all of the medium up in one pull. And I find that if you rub it really well, you'll see that. Now, you can see there's a little bit of shimmer left on the plate, but look how shimmery it is just on the copy paper. It adds so much to any other medium if you just combine this iridescent medium with whatever you're using on the gel press. It doesn't have to be watercolor. So I'll repeat this process and I'm going to do a few prints. This time I'm actually putting the 2 mediums down at the same time, and you'll see I get a little less pullback of the medium when the 2 are mixed with the brayer directly on the plate. So I'll pull this one up and you'll see that it's a little bit more distinct. Again, beautiful shimmer. This is so much fun. You're going to be addicted to using this, I promise. Now, each of these prints will get additional colors and additional mediums later on. So you might think, why is she just doing the same thing over and over again? Is she crazy? I'm not crazy. I have a point. But this is going to form the base for a bunch of multicolored prints. Now this time I'm creating a little bit of texture with a Hero Arts background stamp. And you can see those fine lines. It almost looks like an underwater scene. I love that. So now medium number 2 is going to be alcohol ink. I love finishing a print with alcohol ink because it does a couple of things. It makes the colors and the patterns so vivid because alcohol ink is transparent. So you lose none of the detail, but you gain this bright color layer on top. But an added bonus is it dries your print more quickly. So if the medium underneath is just a little bit wet, the alcohol ink, since it's such a rapid drying medium, will dry your print much faster, and then you can take up less space on the floor for your prints, because come on, I know that's where you store them. I love that. It looks like there could be a mermaid swimming around in there. I just think that's so beautiful. And for some reason, purple is a magical, magical ink that looks great over any other colors. You're going to see a great example of this at the end of the video. Now here I'm combining Distress Oxide Pumice Stone Re-Inker, Hero Arts Liquid Watercolor, and the Iridescent Medium because I want to do more of a sort of opaque print, and that's what the Distress Oxides gives me. Gives me an opaque layer that's going to stand up to the transparent layers I use later on. It, of course, is shimmery as well, which is so fun. So I'll repeat the process where I put the mediums on the plate at the same time to mix them, and I'll get another sort of more neutral, opaque background. Again, same impressible, and I'm not cleaning this in between. I love it when an uncleaned impressible or plate transfers a little bit of the paint that it picked up from the last print onto the next print. I think that's just magic. Now I will go ahead and pick up a ghost print, and that came out great, very faint. And now I will switch to yellow alcohol ink. Now you might be thinking, why are you putting yellow on top of things that are blue and purple? Aren't you going to get mud? You're not going to get mud. You're going to get these gorgeous, detailed prints with a transparent layer of color on top of them, letting those opaque layers of, in this case, the Distress Oxide show through underneath. And it just becomes its own fun little alchemy, warms up the print, looks great. So I'll go backwards through my prints and I'll add yellow to them. And I'm even going to add yellow to the ones that had purple, and wait until you see that. It's magic. Now alcohol ink dries quickly, and you can see the two areas that didn't get ink on them. And that's just because it dried so fast. So you want to have your print in your hand while you're brayering out the alcohol ink. That makes a huge difference. So this is what that looks like over that beautiful blue print. I get some greens in there from the transparency. I have the shimmer, but then I have the warmth of that yellow. Now, these just look amazing. They look like I'm using a different process every single time, but I'm not. I'm doing the same thing. So I cannot be stopped from going back and adding yellow alcohol ink on top of the others. It's just unbelievably irresistible. I wish I had done more of these. Look at that. That combo with the purple ink and the yellow ink in spots that were still white is just magical. You'll be able to see close-ups of all of these prints, don't worry, at the end of the video, and of course at the beginning. There's probably my favorite that almost created a full spectrum rainbow on that print. You can see that purple and the yellow both. So I'll keep going through these prints. Now I will have some finished cards with these on my blog, so be sure and stop by my blog. But I'm just amazed at things that they always would tell you in art school you can't do. You can't combine purple and yellow, you'll get brown. It's not true. Just try it. That one's spectacular. It has like a beautiful green from all those blues, and I'm going to go back in with purple, and this dried on me a little bit on the plate, so I had to reapply it. But I'm going to put purple on top of the yellow, and look at that. It's so beautiful. You could not have a better outcome than combining these alcohol inks on top of the acrylic with the watercolor. You're basically using every type of medium that you can use together in a single print. And I think that's what makes them so interesting and so much fun to look at. On the paler one, you can see I had like some little spots of paint on my plate, which make that one even more interesting because there are sort of the ghostly images in the background. But then there's that speckled detail from a prior printing session that really brings it to life. I love that one too. Oh my gosh. But this one is so warm and pretty. I think I'm going to put purple on it and see what happens. And it ends up being one of my favorites. And I did the same thing. I let it dry too much. So be quick. Plus I sit right under an air conditioning vent. But just have that print in your hand and you'll have a great result. You don't have to press this down as much as you do with acrylic paint. I'm just in that habit, but it dries so much faster. And look at that like almost red color I got from the yellow and the purple sitting on top of that blue watercolor print. It's just magical. I could do this for days. And it's super simple. There's no complicated anything in this technique. You're simply doing on-plate, multi-medium printing. So here are a few close-ups. I love that vivid red. And some of my favorites are where the white of the paper showed through in the early prints where I had a little bit too much water media. And that white really makes the alcohol ink pop. So you can see the purples and the yellows kind of on their own in those spots. And I think it just makes for a great print. Head over to my blog for more information and some cards. And thanks so much for watching.